There is a man sitting in a cell right now. The lights never go off. He has not slept, not really slept, in weeks. He has lost 18 pounds, not from illness, from fear. He inspects every meal that is placed in front of him before he touches a single bite. He checks it slowly. He looks for things that shouldn't be there. And even when he finds nothing, he still cannot bring himself to eat more than 30% of what is on that tray. He pushes the rest away, and he sits with the silence. When this story first began to surface, the approach was something else, something more contained, something that sources described as controlled, the kind of cold, managed pressure that has always existed from men convicted of certain crimes in certain facilities, tense but structured, something you could almost call a baseline. But something changed. In 2026, it is no longer baseline. It is no longer controlled. Private sources, sources with direct access to information from inside that facility, are now confirming what many feared. The approach that started as something light has become something else entirely. Two of the most feared and most organized prison-based criminal organizations in the United States have both moved against the same man. Not together, but both moving. And the man caught between them, Chris Watts, is running out of whatever it was he had left. Stay with me, because this story, all of it, deserves to be told carefully, fully, without rushing past the parts that matter most, and without ever forgetting the four people whose names started all of this. Before we go any further, I want to say something directly to you. This is not a story I am telling for shock value. I never have, and I am not going to start today. What you are about to hear is heavy. It involves real people, a real family, real children who are no longer here, and a situation unfolding inside a real prison right now in 2026. Viewer discretion is strongly advised, not because I want to disturb you, but because this story has never been told in full, not like this, and the truth of it is not easy to sit with. Another source, another channel touched parts of this story before we did, but nobody sat down and connected every thread. Nobody asked what all of it means, together as one complete picture. That is what we are doing today. And before we do anything else, I need to ask you something. Drop a comment right now and tell me, how did you find this channel? Was it someone who shared a video? Was it an algorithm? Was it a search? Tell me. Because your story, the path that brought you here, might be exactly what someone else needed to read today. I want to take a moment, and I want to mean it. This channel has grown into something I genuinely did not anticipate. Millions of people, from places I have never visited, choosing to be here, choosing every time they press play to say, this victim matters, this story matters, I will not let this disappear. I don't take that lightly. Not one of you, not one view, not one comment, not one video shared at 2 a.m. because someone couldn't sleep and needed to know that someone out there was still paying attention. If you are brand new here, welcome, genuinely and completely welcome. Hit that subscribe button right now and turn on your notifications, because what I bring to this space, the depth, the patience, the refusal to let these cases shrink into headlines, you will not find it anywhere else. And if you have been here from the beginning, thank you. You know what this channel was built on. You know exactly why it exists, and you know that every single video I make is made with the same purpose it has always been made with, to speak for the people who can no longer speak for themselves. Drop new or day one in the comments right now. I want to see this community. I want to know who is in this with me and where in the world you are watching from. Tell me your country. Tell me your city. This channel reaches every time zone on this earth in 2026, and I never stop being moved by that. I want to stop here, Before we talk about prison organizations, before we talk about threats and campaigns and attacks and investigations, before any of that, I need to say their names. Because they are the only reason this story exists. They are the reason I am sitting here in 2026 still talking about this. They are the reason this community was built, and they will be the first names out of my mouth every single time. Shanann Watts, 34 years old, a mother, a wife, a woman who had fought, genuinely fought for the life she had built in Colorado. She had been diagnosed with lupus in her 20s, a chronic autoimmune illness that affects the body's ability to fight itself, painful, unpredictable, exhausting, and she had not let it stop her. She had built a career, she had built a family, she had chosen every morning to show up fully for the people she loved. She documented her life on social media with a warmth and a joy that even now is hard to watch without feeling the weight of what came after. You can see it in the videos. She loved those children openly, visibly, without reservation. She loved them the way that only a mother who knows she fought to build her family can love them. She was 15 weeks pregnant when she died. 15 weeks. She already had a name picked out for the baby. She was already talking about him. She was already his mother. She had been his mother from the moment she found out. She came home from a work trip in the early hours of August 13th, 2018. She never left that house again. Bella Watts.
4 years old, bright, curious, full of an energy that you can see in every video and photograph. The kind of energy that belongs only to children who are still discovering that the world is endlessly interesting. Everything was worth paying attention to. Everything was still new. She had her whole life ahead of her. All of it taken. I think about what Bella would have become, what she would have loved at 10 years old, what she would have been studying in school, who her friends would have been. We will never know any of it. And that absence, that specific, particular absence, is one of the things about this case that I have never been able to set down. Celeste Watts, 3 years old, the younger daughter. Everyone who knew her described the same quality, a lightness, a laughter that filled rooms, a little girl who had a gift for making the people around her feel warm just by being present. 3 years old. 3. She had barely begun. Nico Watts, never born, never given a single breath in this world. His name was chosen with love. He was already loved before he arrived. He was already a son, already a brother, already a member of a family that was waiting for him. And he was taken before he ever had the chance to be any of those things. 4 lives, 1 family, gone in a single night, by a man who drove to work the next morning, spoke to his colleagues, gave a television interview, stood on his front lawn, and said nothing. I want to ask you something, and I want you to sit with it before you answer. When you first heard this case, what was the detail that stayed with you? Not the one that made the biggest headlines, the one that stayed with you personally, the one you found yourself thinking about at unexpected moments. Drop it in the comments. I genuinely want to know. Type "We remember" for this family in the comments and tell me, do you believe justice was truly served in this case? Drop yes or no. I want your honest answer. Let's have that conversation. Drop a candle for Shanann, Bella, Celeste, and Nico, and tell me what time it is where you are right now, because this channel reaches every corner of this earth in 2026, and I never, ever take that for granted. Most people think they know this story. They watched the documentary, they followed the sentencing, they read the headlines, they moved on. They think it ended when those courtroom doors closed. It didn't.
What has been unfolding inside that facility and what is now being confirmed in 2026 is a chapter that most coverage has never fully told. Not the depth of it, not the full shape of it, not the detail that changes how you understand everything that came before. I have spent significant time on this. I have cross-referenced accounts. I have spoken to sources. I have sat with pieces of this story that are uncomfortable, that do not fit neatly into the version most people prefer, and I have included them anyway, because that is what this channel is built on, the full truth, even when it's complicated. Stay until the end of this video. Every part of it matters. I promise you, the detail I save for the final section of this script is the one that most people have completely missed, and it changes the entire shape of this story. Now, let's go back to the beginning. Let's understand exactly who Chris Watts is and what he did before we talk about what is being done to him. To understand what is happening inside those prison walls right now, we have to go back, all the way back. Because the reason two powerful organizations are both targeting this man in 2026 starts with what he did, starts with who he is, and starts, as it always does in stories like this, with the surface. The surface, what people saw. Christopher Lee Watts was born on May 16, 1985, in Spring Lake, North Carolina. He grew up in a working-class household. His parents were Ronnie and Cindy Watts. By most accounts from childhood, quiet, unremarkable, the kind of child that teachers remember as present but never particularly noteworthy. He was not the kid that got into trouble. He was not the one that stood out. He blended, and that blending, that practiced, persistent ordinariness would become one of the most important things to understand about him as an adult. He met Shanann in 2010. She was vivacious, social, warm, the kind of person who filled a room by walking into it. They married in 2012. They moved to Colorado in 2012 when he took a position with Anadarko Petroleum as an operator. From the outside, they were a young couple building something. The financial pressure. What most casual coverage of this case skipped over was the financial picture, and it matters a great deal. The Watts family was not in a comfortable financial position in the months leading up to August 2018. They had significant debt. The house in Frederick, purchased in 2013 for around $400,000, carried a considerable mortgage. Shanann's business, she was a promoter for a multi-level marketing nutrition company, had produced income in some periods, but the financial stability was inconsistent. According to bankruptcy filings that became public record, the Watts family had filed for Chapter 7 bankruptcy in 2015, a financial collapse that forced them to liquidate assets and restructure their lives. They had clawed back from it, but the pressure, the quiet, grinding financial pressure of maintaining a life that looked more comfortable than it was always there. This matters, not because financial stress excuses anything. It excuses nothing, but because understanding the internal world of a man who was already emotionally detached, already performing rather than feeling, and placing him inside compounding financial stress, gives us a more complete picture of the conditions he was building towards. The affair, what he was really planning. Sometime in the spring or early summer of 2018, Chris Watts began an affair with a coworker named Nicole Kessinger. She was in her early 30s. She was not aware, initially, of the full reality of his home life.
Watts presented himself to her the way he presented himself to most people: controlled, likable, uncomplicated. He told her his marriage was essentially over. He told her he was working through a separation. He constructed a narrative that positioned him as a man in transition, not a man planning anything permanent. Oh, but the evidence that emerged after the murders told a different story. He had been researching things online that no man planning a simple divorce researches. He had been having conversations, internal, private conversations with himself that pointed towards something irreversible. Shanann, meanwhile, was 15 weeks pregnant. She had gone on a work trip to Arizona. She was excited about the baby. She had been posting publicly about the pregnancy. She was, by every account, fighting for her marriage, not ending it. She did not know that her husband had already decided. August 12th and 13th, 2018. What happened? Shanann returned home from her work trip at approximately 1:48 in the morning on August 13th, 2018. Her friend had driven her home. She went inside. Chris Watts was awake and waiting. What happened in that house in the hours that followed is even now difficult to speak about with full composure, because it was not the act of a man in a moment of rage. It was not an explosion. It was calculated. It was premeditated. It had been decided before she walked through the door. Shanann was strangled. Their daughters, Bella and Celeste, were smothered. Their unborn son, Nico, was taken with his mother. Chris Watts loaded their bodies into his work truck and drove to the Survey 319 oil field site, a remote location operated by his employer, where he had already planned what to do. Shanann was buried in a shallow grave near the site. Bella and Celeste were, and this detail has never stopped being one of the most disturbing elements of this entire case, placed inside oil storage tanks. Inside oil tanks. His daughters, placed inside tanks at a site he drove to every day for work. Oh, he then went to work that day as though nothing had happened. He spoke to colleagues. He participated in a normal workday. He was capable of that. That is what makes this case so deeply, persistently disturbing. The performance of grief. When Shanann did not pick up her daughters from a scheduled play date on the morning of August 13th, her friend became concerned and called the police. Officers went to the Watts home. Chris Watts was there. And what followed was a performance, one of the most chilling in recent criminal history. He gave a television interview. He stood on his front lawn in Frederick, Colorado. He spoke about his missing wife and children with an affect that investigators would later describe as deeply inconsistent with genuine distress. He said things like, "I want them to come back." He spoke about his daughters. He cried tears that did not look like the tears of a man who had lost his family, because he had not lost them, he had taken them. Within days, investigators had zeroed in on him. A polygraph examination, inconsistencies in his timeline, cell phone data, and then a confrontation by his own father-in-law, Frank Ruszczyk, during a recorded interview where Watts broke. He confessed. Even in confession, Watts attempted to manage the narrative. His initial version claimed that Shanann had killed the girls, that he had witnessed it, and then killed her in rage. That story collapsed under the weight of the forensic evidence. In November 2018, Watts pleaded guilty to all 9 counts against him. First-degree murder, 3 counts of first-degree murder of a child, unlawful termination of a pregnancy, 5 consecutive life sentences, no possibility of parole, no trial, no jury, just the guilty plea and the doors closing behind him. He was sent to Dodge Correctional Institution in Wisconsin, maximum security, and for a while the world moved on. But inside those walls, the reckoning had already begun. This is a section I want to give real time to, because in most coverage of this case, the focus lands on Chris Watts, on the crime, on the confession, and the people who were left behind, the people who are still here, still living with this, get a paragraph and then the camera moves. Not here, not today. Frank and Sandra Ruszczyk, Shanann's parents. Shanann's parents, Frank and Sandra, were living in North Carolina when their daughter was murdered. Frank was the one who came to Colorado in the days after Shanann went missing. He was present during the recorded conversation where Chris Watts, confronted by his father-in-law's grief, partially broke and confessed. Oh, think about that for a moment. A father sitting in a room asking the man his daughter had married where she was, and the man who killed her sitting across from him. That conversation is documented. I will not describe it at length here, because some things deserve to be received in silence rather than narrated. But the weight of what Frank Ruszczyk carried in that room, it never leaves. Frank and Sandra have spoken publicly on multiple occasions since the murders. They have advocated for their daughter. They have attended court proceedings. They have said her name and their granddaughters' names, loudly and without hesitation, in every forum available to them. Oh, they are still doing that. In 2026, they are still here, still speaking, still refusing to let Shanann and Bella and Celeste and Nico be reduced to a footnote in their killer's story. Shannon's brother, Frankie Ruszczyk. Shannon's brother, Frankie Ruszczyk, has been one of the most vocal and consistent voices in the years since the murders. He has maintained a social media presence where he regularly remembers his sister and his nieces. He has never let the world forget their names. He has confronted misinformation about the case directly. He has pushed back, publicly and clearly, against anyone who has attempted to reframe or minimize what Chris Watts did. Frankie has also spoken about what it means to live with this kind of grief, the particular grief of losing someone to murder, where there is no accident to make peace with, no illness to understand, just the deliberate choice of another person, and the way that choice reorganizes everything, every memory, every family gathering, every holiday, around the shape of who is no longer there. I want to ask you something, and I want you to really think about this. When a family loses someone to a crime like this, what does society owe them? Not legally, humanly. What does the world owe the people who are left behind? Drop your thoughts in the comments. This conversation matters to me.
The children's birthdays. Every year, the community that has formed around this case remembers Bella and Celeste's birthdays. Bella was born on December 17, 2013. Celeste was born on July 17, 2015. And every year their family marks those days, not in celebration, though there is something in it that honors the joy those little girls brought, but in remembrance, in the insistence that their dates matter, that they existed, that they deserve to be counted.
Both were constructed entirely around what he needed each audience to believe. Kessinger has maintained that she did not know the full extent of his family situation. She cooperated extensively with investigators after the murders. She has distanced herself completely from any association with him, and by all accounts, her cooperation was critical to the speed at which investigators closed in on Watts after the disappearance was reported. When Chris Watts walked through the doors of Dodge Correctional Institution in November 2018, he entered a world with its own laws, its own structure, its own ruthlessly enforced social order. And in that world, he was already at the bottom before he took a single step. How prison society organizes itself. The hierarchy inside a maximum security facility is not theoretical, it is not symbolic, it is lived, enforced, and consequential every single day. It governs who eats without fear, who walks the yard without watching their back, who receives respect, and who receives the opposite of it. At the top of that hierarchy, by consistent documentation across decades of prison research, sit those with organizational connections, members of established prison gangs, men who came in with affiliations already in place, men who have resources, reputation, and the backing of a structure that extends beyond the walls of any single facility. Below that,
those with individual reputations, men who have demonstrated through their conduct, inside or before, that they carry a particular kind of weight. And at the very bottom, consistently, universally, without exception across facility type, state, or era, those convicted of crimes against children. Why child killers sit at the bottom? I want to take a moment to explain this because the instinct of some people watching this is to wonder why a population that has committed serious crimes themselves would have any moral hierarchy at all. But that misunderstands how prison culture functions. Inside correctional facilities, particularly maximum security ones, there is a deeply entrenched code around the protection of children, not because every inmate had a good childhood, often the opposite, but because violence against children, particularly familial violence, represents a category of betrayal that even men who have committed serious crimes view as indefensible. There is also a more practical element. Child killers and child sex offenders who enter general population are frequently targeted, not just because of the moral code, but because targeting them is a way for other inmates to establish or reinforce their own position in the hierarchy. Attacking a chomo, the prison slang, carries a kind of social currency among certain populations inside. It is a way of demonstrating that you have standards, that you have limits, that even in this world there are lines you will not cross. Oh, Chris Watts did not just cross those lines, he obliterated them. He murdered 2 daughters, an unborn son, their pregnant mother, and then he stood on his lawn and performed grief for the cameras. In the eyes of every inmate in that facility, he walked in already condemned. Dodge Correctional, what we know. Dodge Correctional Institution is located in Waupun, Wisconsin. It is a maximum security facility operated by the Wisconsin Department of Corrections. It houses some of the most serious offenders in the state's correctional system. Wisconsin is not Watts's home state. He was from Colorado. His transfer there was a deliberate placement designed in part to provide some degree of separation from the environment most closely associated with his crimes and notoriety. Whether that decision has served his safety in the way that it was intended, the evidence of 2026 suggests not entirely. I want to be careful here because this is the part of the story where I need you to track a shift, a specific, documented shift. Because understanding where this started is the only way to understand how far it has traveled since. In the early years of Watts's incarceration, the pressure he experienced from the general population was what corrections professionals would describe as standard for his conviction type: cold, isolating, unwelcoming, the kind of social hostility that men convicted of crimes against children routinely face in maximum security environments. He was not popular, he was not protected, but he was also not the specific, targeted, organized focus of a campaign. He was simply despised and largely avoided, which for a man convicted of what he was convicted of is the standard experience. The shift from passive to active. What changed, and the timeline on this is something sources have spoken about, is that the approach gradually became more intentional, more organized, more specifically directed at him as a target. The passive social hostility, the cold shoulders, the isolation, the silence began to give way to something with more structure behind it, something with planning behind it, something that, according to sources, bears the marks of organizational decision-making rather than individual aggression. And the question people have asked me, and the question I want to address directly, is why now? Why 2026? He has been in that facility since 2018. Why did the organized approach escalate when it did? The answer, as best as sources can reconstruct it, is layered. Part of it is the nature of how prison organizations operate. They are patient.
They do not rush. Part of it is that the particular organizational presence at Dodge and its composition has shifted over the years as inmates transfer in and out. And part of it is the letter, which we will get to.
Both were constructed entirely around what he needed each audience to believe. Kessinger has maintained that she did not know the full extent of his family situation. She cooperated extensively with investigators after the murders. She has distanced herself completely from any association with him, and by all accounts, her cooperation was critical to the speed at which investigators closed in on Watts after the disappearance was reported. When Chris Watts walked through the doors of Dodge Correctional Institution in November 2018, he entered a world with its own laws, its own structure, its own ruthlessly enforced social order. And in that world, he was already at the bottom before he took a single step. How prison society organizes itself. The hierarchy inside a maximum security facility is not theoretical, it is not symbolic, it is lived, enforced, and consequential every single day. It governs who eats without fear, who walks the yard without watching their back, who receives respect, and who receives the opposite of it. At the top of that hierarchy, by consistent documentation across decades of prison research, sit those with organizational connections, members of established prison gangs, men who came in with affiliations already in place, men who have resources, reputation, and the backing of a structure that extends beyond the walls of any single facility. Below that, those with individual reputations, men who have demonstrated through their conduct, inside or before, that they carry a particular kind of weight. And at the very bottom, consistently, universally, without exception across facility type, state, or era, those convicted of crimes against children. Why child killers sit at the bottom. I want to take a moment to explain this because the instinct of some people watching this is to wonder why a population that has committed serious crimes themselves would have any moral hierarchy at all. But that misunderstands how prison culture functions. Inside correctional facilities, particularly maximum security ones, there is a deeply entrenched code around the protection of children, not because every inmate had a good childhood, often the opposite, but because violence against children, particularly familial violence, represents a category of betrayal that even men who have committed serious crimes view as indefensible. There is also a more practical element. Child killers and child sex offenders who enter general population are frequently targeted, not just because of the moral code, but because targeting them is a way for other inmates to establish or reinforce their own position in the hierarchy. Attacking a chomo, the prison slang, carries a kind of social currency among certain populations inside. It is a way of demonstrating that you have standards, that you have limits, that even in this world there are lines you will not cross. Oh, Chris Watts did not just cross those lines, he obliterated them. He murdered 2 daughters, an unborn son, their pregnant mother, and then he stood on his lawn and performed grief for the cameras. In the eyes of every inmate in that facility, he walked in already condemned. Dodge Correctional, What We Know. Dodge Correctional Institution is located in Waupun, Wisconsin. It is a maximum security facility operated by the Wisconsin Department of Corrections. It houses some of the most serious offenders in the state's correctional system. Wisconsin is not Watts's home state. He was from Colorado. His transfer there was a deliberate placement designed in part to provide some degree of separation from the environment most closely associated with his crimes and notoriety. Whether that decision has served his safety in the way that it was intended, the evidence of 2026 suggests not entirely.
I want to be careful here because this is the part of the story where I need you to track a shift, a specific, documented shift. Because understanding where this started is the only way to understand how far it has traveled since. In the early years of Watts's incarceration, the pressure he experienced from the general population was what corrections professionals would describe as standard for his conviction type: cold, isolating, unwelcoming, the kind of social hostility that men convicted of crimes against children routinely face in maximum security environments. He was not popular, he was not protected, but he was also not the specific, targeted, organized focus of a campaign. He was simply despised and largely avoided, which for a man convicted of what he was convicted of is the standard experience.
And in those early years, nobody was watching in the way he needed. Oh, and then, when the organized targeting began, suddenly people were watching, but not in the way any performer would want. Let me take some time here, because the Aryan Brotherhood is an organization that deserves to be explained accurately, not dramatized, not exaggerated, accurately, because the reality of what they are is more than sufficient to explain why their involvement in this situation matters. History and origins. The Aryan Brotherhood, also known as the Brand or AB, was formed in 1964 at San Quentin State Prison in California. It is one of the oldest continuously operating prison gangs in the United States. Originally formed as a white supremacist organization in response to the racial polarization of California's prison system in the 1960s, it evolved over the following decades into something that criminologists and law enforcement describe as a prison-based criminal enterprise. By the 1980s and 1990s, the AB had expanded significantly beyond California. Federal law enforcement investigations, particularly Operation Closed Market in the early 2000s, documented the organization's reach across federal and state prison systems nationally. Members were prosecuted for murder, drug trafficking, extortion, and conspiracy. Multiple AB members received death sentences. The organization absorbed those prosecutions and continued operating. How they operate. What distinguishes the Aryan Brotherhood from more loosely organized prison gangs is their structure. They have a governing council. They have a system of membership, making your bones, which involves demonstrating commitment through acts the organization sanctions. They have a communication network that operates across facilities and state lines through coded correspondence and trusted intermediaries. They are patient. This is one of the most important things to understand about them. They do not act impulsively. When they target someone, the approach is methodical, strategic, designed to achieve a specific outcome in a specific way. Their code and where Watts falls. The AB operates on an internal code. It is enforced internally with as much rigor as any external law. And among the behaviors that the code condemns absolutely, crimes against children sit near the top. This is not purely ideological, it is also practical. Within the social economy of prison, attacking a child killer carries social capital. It reinforces the organization's position as one that has standards, that enforces a code, that is not simply violent, but purposefully violent, on behalf of something. When Chris Watts entered Dodge Correctional with a conviction that included the murders of 2 daughters and an unborn child, he entered a facility where members of the AB were present, and he entered as precisely the category of person their code identifies as a legitimate target. His presence was, from their perspective, an invitation. The psychological hunting strategy explained. Sources who have described the AB's approach to Watts in 2026 consistently use one word above all others: methodical. The strategy, as described, involves several stages. First, observation, watching the target during yard time, learning his patterns, his routes, his habits, making sure he knows he is being watched. The psychological weight of being watched, without knowing when or how the watching will become something else, is itself a form of violence. Second, escalation through communication. The handwritten notes, the messages passed through intermediaries, the 17 threats received in 10 days in January 2026, each one a data point that the person receiving it has to process, track, fear. And the third stage, according to sources, is not necessarily a physical confrontation at all. The third stage is the completion of the psychological campaign. The goal is not to make headlines. The goal is to make him understand, fully and permanently, that he will never feel safe again. Let me take you here, into this specific moment, because this is where the light approach ended. On January 1st, 2026, New Year's Day, a handwritten note was reportedly slipped under the door of Chris Watts' cell. Not delivered through the prison mail system, not passed through an intermediary, slipped under his door, meaning whoever placed it was at his cell in the night, close enough to reach it. The note read, "This year you pay. No guards, no protection, no escape. Count your days." Think about what it means to wake up to that on the first morning of a new year, to hold that piece of paper and understand, not theoretically, not from a distance, but physically, concretely, that whoever wrote it was standing at your door, that they know exactly where you sleep, that they wanted you to begin this year knowing they can reach you. By January 10th, 10 days into 2026, he had reportedly received 17 separate threats. 17. Not variations of the same note from the same source. 17 individual communications, arriving through different channels, different methods, different hands, each one landing with its own weight, each one a reminder that the number of people involved is too large to track, that there is no single person to negotiate with, no single relationship to manage, nowhere to direct the fear. What 17 threats in 10 days does to a person. Sources who have observed Watts' condition during this period describe something that is, even for this case, striking. The weight loss, 18 pounds, because he cannot eat without inspecting first, without checking, without spending several minutes looking at food that has been prepared by people he does not know, in a kitchen he cannot see, in a facility where he has 17 confirmed enemies. He finishes 30% of his meals, 30%. He pushes the rest away.
The lights in his cell run continuously. No darkness, no rest, around the clock. Whether that is officially imposed or self-chosen, the effect is the same. He has been stripped of the basic human experience of lying in darkness and feeling safe enough to sleep. He sleeps in fragments, short, broken, always listening, for the sound of something approaching, for the sound of a note being slipped under his door, for anything that tells him something is about to happen. There is a particular kind of suffering in waiting for something you cannot prevent,
in knowing that the people who intend to harm you are patient, that they are not in a hurry, that the waiting is itself the point. That is what sources describe as Chris Watts's daily experience in 2026. Not the drama of a single violent event, the grinding, relentless weight of permanent dread. I want to ask you this, and I want you to be honest with yourself when you answer. Do you feel sympathy for what he is experiencing? Not for who he is, not for what he did, for the human experience of what is being described here. The inability to sleep, to eat, to feel safe for a single moment. Drop yes, no, or complicated in the comments, because I think this question reveals something important about how we think about justice, and I want to hear where this community stands. This section, I want to give it the time it deserves, because it tells us something important, not just about Chris Watts, about human behavior, about loneliness, about the particular gravitational pull of a high-profile convicted killer on certain kinds of people, and about what happens when that pull finally releases. Why killers receive letters. Let me start by addressing something that confuses a lot of people, and that even more people are reluctant to discuss honestly. High-profile convicted killers receive letters, significant numbers of letters, and a disproportionate amount of that correspondence comes from women. This is not a new phenomenon. It is not specific to Chris Watts. It has been documented across decades and across cases: Ted Bundy, Richard Ramirez, Scott Peterson. Men convicted of serious crimes, particularly the murder of women, often receive correspondence from women who become attached to them from the outside. The psychological research on this is genuinely interesting, and I think it deserves to be discussed honestly rather than dismissed or sensationalized. What draws someone to correspondence with a convicted killer? Researchers who have studied this, including Sheila Eisenberg in her work on women who love men who kill, identify several consistent threads: loneliness, a history of relationships with men who were emotionally unavailable or controlling, which, paradoxically, the prison correspondence replicates in a controlled, bounded way. The fantasy of being the one person who truly understands someone the world has condemned, and, in some cases, a genuine belief, carefully cultivated by the inmate, that the conviction was unjust. Watts and his audience. Watts actively cultivated his correspondence. This was not passive. He was not simply a man receiving unsolicited letters and politely responding. According to accounts, he sought out connections. He wrote to women who had expressed interest in his case online. He positioned himself in those letters as misunderstood, as a man with more to his story, as someone who had changed. He used the same skills he had always used: the ability to read what someone needed to hear, the ability to construct a version of himself that served the audience in front of him, the charm that his neighbors and colleagues had always noted, that surface warmth that was never quite connected to anything real beneath it. Oh, and for a period it worked. The letters came, the connections formed. Some women wrote regularly, some sent money to his commissary account. Some developed what they described in their own words in public forums as genuine feelings for him, genuine concern for his well-being, genuine belief in his narrative. What the letters said, his side. The accounts of the contents of Watts's outgoing correspondence, the letters he wrote, are revealing. He wrote about his fear, his isolation, his discomfort, the difficulty of prison life, himself, almost exclusively himself. A man who genuinely understood the weight of what he did, who had actually arrived at the remorse he occasionally performed, would be incapable of writing letters that contain no acknowledgement of the 4 people his choices erased. The absence of their names in his correspondence is not a neutral fact, it is a complete sentence. And then the women stopped writing. But here is what has changed in 2026. The letters have stopped. The correspondence, the steady stream of women writing to Chris Watts, has dried up significantly. According to sources and those tracking his situation, the flow of incoming mail has reduced to almost nothing. The reasons are layered, and I want to go through them carefully. First, the 2026 reporting, when the nature of what is happening to Watts inside those walls became more clear, when the accounts of the threats, the weight loss, the psychological campaign, the alleged 2024 assault began circulating more openly, the image he had constructed for his correspondence became much harder to maintain. It is one thing to write to a man who presents himself as quietly enduring an unjust sentence. It is another to write to a man who is described as losing weight under permanent lights and inspecting his food for poison. The gap between the narrative and the reality became too wide. Second, family intervention. Some of the women who had been writing to Watts were confronted by family members who had become aware of the correspondence. Parents, partners, friends, people who looked at the situation from the outside and said clearly and directly, "What are you doing?" For some, that intervention was enough. Third, time, and the accumulation of information about who he really is. The documentary, the additional reporting, the accounts from people who knew Shanann, the videos that Shanann herself posted, which remain accessible, showing the life she lived, the warmth she brought, the children she loved. Over time, those images compete powerfully with any narrative Chris Watts could construct about himself. And so, in 2026, the external audience that had given him one of his last remaining connections to something outside those walls has largely gone. The isolation has deepened, the letters have stopped, and he is more alone in there than he has been since he arrived. The remorse letter, what he recently wrote. But here is where the story refuses to resolve cleanly. Because recently, in the middle of everything happening to him, Chris Watts reportedly wrote a letter. And this letter was different from anything that had come before it. In it, he wrote about remorse. He wrote about the weight of what he did, about his daughters, about Shanann, about Nico. He reportedly wrote at length as a man who claimed to be carrying it, who claimed that it does not leave him, who claimed that there is not a day that passes inside those walls where he does not think about what he took from the world. I need to be honest with you, because honesty is the only thing this channel is built on. I don't know what to do with that letter, and I don't think any of us fully does. Is it genuine? Is it the response of a man facing his own mortality? A man who, for the first time, is not performing for a sympathetic audience, but sitting in real solitude with what he did. A man whose body is deteriorating, whose external connections have vanished, whose safety is genuinely threatened. A man who is, for the first time in his life, completely without resources, and who is finally, in that stripping away, arriving at something real. Or is it the same pattern, the same carefully constructed narrative, remorse performed for whoever might be reading, with the same precision he brought to every other performance, grief as a tool, regret as a strategy? The people who knew Shanann, the people who loved Bella and Celeste and Nico, have to decide what to do with that letter themselves. It is not mine to validate or dismiss. It is not mine to answer for them. It is theirs. What I can say with complete certainty is this: remorse, if it is real, does not undo anything. It does not bring Shanann home. It does not give Bella and Celeste another morning. It does not give Nico his first breath. And it does not stop what is coming for him inside those walls. Nothing does that now. Tell me what you think about that letter. In the comments, be honest. Do you believe a man like Chris Watts is capable of genuine remorse? And does it matter, even if it is real? Drop your thoughts. This is a conversation this community needs to have. Let me take you to the moment this story shifted from inside information to something the wider world began to notice. The Aryan Brotherhood's campaign against Watts had been building methodically. Threats, observation, the psychological warfare described in sources. 17 threats in 10 days. The weight loss, the deteriorating condition, all of it documented but largely contained in the information that moves between sources close to the facility and the few journalists and analysts tracking it closely. And then it broke into broader coverage. The Aryan Brotherhood's campaign became a headline, not a rumor, not a forum post, a reported, documented, sourced account of what was happening to Chris Watts inside prison in 2026 and who was making it happen, and it reached an audience of millions. Why headlines changed the dynamic inside? Here is something that people who have not spent time thinking about prison dynamics often miss. What happens in the outside media landscape, it echoes inside. Not through direct access, but through the networks that exist. Family visits, legal correspondence, contraband communication. Information moves. When the Aryan Brotherhood's campaign against Watts became publicly associated with organized prison targeting, that information reached inside Dodge Correctional. And when it did, it changed something. It changed the visibility of the campaign. It changed the social capital attached to it. And, critically, it changed the equation for every other organization inside that facility that had its own position on Chris Watts. Because the Mexican Mafia, La M, was not going to read that headline and say nothing. La M's response. According to sources, when the Aryan Brotherhood's campaign against Watts became publicly associated with organized prison targeting, that information reached inside Dodge Correctional. And when it did, it changed something. It changed the visibility of the campaign. It changed the social capital attached to it. And, critically, it changed the equation for every other organization inside that facility that had its own position on Chris Watts. Because the Mexican Mafia, La M, was not going to read that headline and say nothing. La M's response. According to sources, when the Aryan Brotherhood's campaign against Watts became publicly associated with organized prison targeting, that information reached inside Dodge Correctional. And when it did, it changed something. It changed the visibility of the campaign. It changed the social capital attached to it. And, critically, it changed the equation for every other organization inside that facility that had its own position on Chris Watts. Because the Mexican Mafia, La M, was not going to read that headline and say nothing. La M's response. According to sources, when the Aryan Brotherhood's campaign against Watts became publicly associated with organized prison targeting, that information reached inside Dodge Correctional. And when it did, it changed something. It changed the visibility of the campaign. It changed the social capital attached to it. And, critically, it changed the equation for every other organization inside that facility that had its own position on Chris Watts. Because the Mexican Mafia, La M, was not going to read that headline and say nothing. La M's response. According to sources, when the Aryan Brotherhood's campaign against Watts became publicly associated with organized prison targeting, that information reached inside Dodge Correctional. And when it did, it changed something. It changed the visibility of the campaign. It changed the social capital attached to it. And, critically, it changed the equation for every other organization inside that facility that had its own position on Chris Watts. because the Mexican Mafia, La M, was not going to read that headline and say nothing. La M's response. According to sources, when the Aryan Brotherhood's campaign against Watts became publicly associated with organized prison targeting, that information reached inside Dodge Correctional. And when it did, it changed something. It changed the visibility of the campaign. It changed the social capital attached to it. And, critically, it changed the equation for every other organization inside that facility that had its own position on Chris Watts. Because the Mexican Mafia, La M, was not going to read that headline and say nothing. La M's response. According to sources, when the Aryan Brotherhood's campaign against Watts became publicly associated with organized prison targeting, that information reached inside Dodge Correctional. And when it did, it changed something. It changed the visibility of the campaign. It changed the social capital attached to it. And, critically, it changed the equation for every other organization inside that facility that had its own position on Chris Watts. Because the Mexican Mafia, La M, was not going to read that headline and say nothing. La M's response. According to sources, when the Aryan Brotherhood's campaign against Watts became publicly associated with organized prison targeting, that information reached inside Dodge Correctional. And when it did, it changed something. It changed the visibility of the campaign. It changed the social capital attached to it. And, critically, it changed the equation for every other organization inside that facility that had its own position on Chris Watts. Because the Mexican Mafia, La M, was not going to read that headline and say nothing. La M's response. According to sources, when the Aryan Brotherhood's campaign against Watts became publicly associated with organized prison targeting, that information reached inside Dodge Correctional. And when it did, it changed something. It changed the visibility of the campaign. It changed the social capital attached to it. And, critically, it changed the equation for every other organization inside that facility that had its own position on Chris Watts. Because the Mexican Mafia, La M, was not going to read that headline and say,
La M operates with a formal hierarchy. Carnales, full members, associates, those who work with the organization but have not been formally inducted, and an internal governance structure that includes leadership, councils, and a system of internal justice. The code, enforced internally with absolute seriousness, governs everything. How business is conducted, who can be taxed, how disputes are resolved, and who is a legitimate target. Among the absolute foundations of that code, documented extensively in federal court proceedings, law enforcement testimony, and academic research, is the position on crimes against children. It is not ambiguous. It is not situational. Any individual convicted of harming a child is, under La M's internal law, a sanctioned target. No exception. No negotiation. The code is the code. The green light, what it means. Within La M's governance structure, any organized action against an individual requires formal authorization. This authorization is called a green light. It has been described in detail in federal court testimony and in documented accounts from former members and law enforcement sources. A green light is not casual. It requires consultation with those in positions of authority within the organization. It involves a deliberate decision, a weighing of the grounds, the circumstances, the specific individual. And once it is issued, it does not expire. It remains in effect until it is explicitly lifted,
which, for men convicted of crimes against children, essentially never happens. According to accounts surrounding Chris Watts, a green light was authorized. The specific grounds, the murders of Bella, Celeste, and the unborn Nico. The code was applied. The decision was made. February 14, 2024, the alleged attack. Accounts from sources and reporting from another outlet that covered this case describe an alleged incident at Dodge Correctional Institution, February 14, 2024, Valentine's Day. Chris Watts had reportedly been temporarily relocated to a transitional housing unit while plumbing repairs were being carried out in his regular cell block. A routine administrative decision, a procedural transfer, and opening. In the transitional unit, he was not in the environment he had spent years adapting to. The familiar routes, the known faces, the structured, if hostile, routines of his regular placement. In the transitional unit, he was exposed, accessible, and 3 men, allegedly with organizational connection to La Eme, were there. The alleged assault took place in a shower maintenance area, away from camera coverage, away from the direct sight lines of corrections staff. 3 men, one of them, referred to in the accounts as Carlos, reportedly had a deeply personal connection to a child who had been murdered. This was not general principle. This was personal. This had a face, a name, a reason that lived in his body, not just in the code. According to the accounts, improvised restraints were used, strips torn from bed sheets, tape, designed to immobilize, to create complete helplessness. The assault reportedly lasted approximately 3 hours. 3 hours. Blunt force, described as calculated and methodical, enough to cause significant injury and sustained pain, deliberately stopped short of being immediately life-threatening. The goal, according to the accounts, was not a quick end. The goal was for him to feel it, to experience it, to be unable to escape it. The names, the most important detail. And then there is this, the detail that, of everything in this entire account, has stayed with people the most. The 3 men, according to the accounts, forced Chris Watts to say the names of the people he killed. Shanann, Bella, Celeste, Nico. Say their names, in the same voice that took them, in that room, in that place. Say what you did. The investigation that went nowhere. Watts was reportedly found conscious, severely traumatized following the alleged assault. An investigation was opened by the Wisconsin Department of Corrections. It was declared inconclusive because Chris Watts refused to identify his attackers. He gave no names. He said nothing. I have thought about that silence a long time. Was it fear of what would follow if he spoke? Was it the knowledge that speaking would make things worse, not better? Was it shame at being forced to say those names aloud? Or, and this is the question I keep returning to, was there something in him, some buried part, that understood he had no standing to ask for protection? That in some fundamental way he already knew why it happened? The investigation was closed. No charges were filed. No one was held accountable. And the machine kept running. I want to address something directly because I have seen it in the way people discuss this case online. The framing that what is happening with the Aryan Brotherhood and the Mexican Mafia is a competition, that these 2 organizations are racing, competing for the credit, competing for the headline, two gangs in a strange contest over who gets to be most associated with the targeting of Chris Watts. I understand why that framing exists. The chronology supports it superficially. The Aryan Brotherhood's campaign made headlines. Laeme responded. On the surface, it looks sequential. One going first, the other following. A competition. But I want to offer you a different way to see it. A way that I think is more accurate and more important.
Go back to August 2018. Go back to what happened in that house in Frederick, Colorado. A man strangled his pregnant wife. He smothered his daughters. He put them in oil tanks. He stood on his lawn and performed grief. And then he pleaded guilty and walked into a prison system that had its own ancient, unwritten law about exactly what he was. The Aryan Brotherhood did not need a headline to know that. Laeme did not need a news cycle to reach its conclusion. Both organizations had their own internal codes, built across decades, across generations of incarcerated men that had already decided, long before 2026, what category Chris Watts fell into. Oh, what looks like competition is actually convergence. Two separate codes from two separate organizations with two separate histories arriving independently at the same judgment, that this man should not feel safe, that this man should live with what he did, that the four people he took, Shanann, Bella, Celeste, Nico, should not be forgotten by the person most responsible for their absence from this world. And the fear that sources describe as the organizing feature of his daily experience in 2026 is not incidental. It is not a side effect. It is the point. The fear is the message. We remember what you did. Every day, we remember. What you are looking at is not a competition to attack Watts. What you are looking at is the weight of what he did, arriving, slowly, persistently, from every direction, in the only language that the world he chose to live in speaks. This section, I want to give you things that most coverage of this case either skipped over, buried in footnotes, or simply never investigated. Because the full picture of this case is not just what happened on August 13th, 2018, it is everything around it, before it, after it, and continuing now. The role of the documentary, what changed? The 2020 documentary, American Murder, The Family Next Door, fundamentally changed the public's relationship to this case, not because it introduced new evidence, but because of what it used as its primary source material. Shanann had been an active social media user. She documented her family's life extensively, videos, posts, photographs across platforms. And that documentation, used as the spine of the documentary, gave viewers something unusual in a true crime context: access to the victim, her voice, her warmth, her humor, her mothering. Before she was gone, she had already left behind a record of who she was. Oh, there is something both beautiful and painful about that. Shanann documented her life because she was proud of it, because she wanted to share it, because she loved her family and wanted people to see that love. And in doing so, she gave the world something that most murder victims never can: a window into who she was before the crime, not just who she was in relation to it. The documentary was watched by tens of millions of people, and it changed the tone of public discussion about this case in a lasting way. After it aired, Shanann was no longer primarily discussed as a victim. She was discussed as a person, as a mother, as a woman, as someone specific and irreplaceable, the way she always should have been. The pregnancy, what was lost with Shanann.
One of the elements of this case that I think deserves more deliberate attention and that often gets absorbed into the broader crime statistics is the specific tragedy of Nico. The unlawful termination of a pregnancy is listed in the charges, a single item on a list of 9 counts. But what that represents, the specific loss of a child who was already named, already loved, already part of the family's daily conversation, that is not fully captured by a charge number. Shanann had told Bella and Celeste about the baby. They knew they were going to have a brother. Bella, 4 years old, had apparently been excited about it. She had been included in the conversation about names. She knew his name was going to be Nico. Oh, and Bella knew, before the end. She knew about her brother. And then she was gone too, along with the brother she had been waiting for. I don't have anything to add to that. I just think it needs to be said, fully, without moving past it quickly. The oil tanks, a detail that still haunts the public. The decision to place Bella and Celeste in oil storage tanks, this is a detail that has haunted investigators, journalists, and the public in equal measure, not just because of the horror of it, but because of what it suggests about his mindset. This was not a decision made in panic. This required planning. It required knowledge of the site, of which tanks were accessible, of the logistics of what he was doing. He had thought about this. Before he drove there, before the night of August 13th, he had thought about what he was going to do with them. There is something about that detail, the specific, planned deliberateness of it, that I think explains why this case has maintained such a profound grip on the public consciousness years after the sentencing. It is not just the fact of the murders. It is the evidence of premeditation that runs through every specific decision he made. He planned this. He drove to work every day past that oil field, and he chose it. He chose that specific place to put his daughters. Bella's final moments, what the autopsy revealed. I want to mention this, and I want to be very careful about how I do, because it is one of the most difficult pieces of evidence in this case. The autopsy results for Bella Watts revealed something that the prosecution and medical examiner presented as evidence of what her final moments involved. There was evidence consistent with Bella having struggled, evidence consistent with Bella having been conscious during what was done to her. I'm going to let that land without adding more words to it. Oh, there is nothing I can say that makes that easier. There is nothing anyone can say. Bella was 4 years old, and the evidence suggests she knew something was wrong. This detail, for many people who follow this case, is the one that has never allowed them to feel any ambivalence about the weight of justice here. This is what Bella experienced. This is what her father chose for her. And no sentence, no prison experience, no campaign of fear can reach the full magnitude of that.
I want to ask you, gently, and with full respect for the weight of it, do you ever think about the victims on their own terms, not in relation to the crime, not in relation to the trial or the sentence, just who they were, who Shanann would have been in 2026, what Bella would have been studying, what Celeste would have loved, what Nico would have looked like? Drop their names in the comments, just their names, that's all. Now, here is where we land. March 2026. What is being confirmed, what sources are saying, and what it means. Private sources with direct access to information from inside the facility are confirming that the Mexican Mafia has made a new direct approach toward Watts. Not a distant message passed through 3 intermediaries, a direct approach, a direct communication, delivered and received. At the same time, the Aryan Brotherhood has not stepped back. The campaign that began with 17 threats in January has not softened. The observation continues, the psychological pressure continues, the watching continues, every day. His condition, what sources describe. Those with knowledge of his current condition describe a man in significant and measurable decline, physical and psychological. The weight loss, 18 pounds, has reportedly continued. He is not recovering it, because the conditions driving it, the food paranoia, the inability to eat normally, those conditions have not changed, they have intensified. His sleep disruption also continuing. He is described as functioning on fragments of rest, always in a state of partial alertness, always listening, always waiting. His social engagement within the facility, already minimal, has reportedly contracted further. He avoids common spaces when possible. He has developed, according to sources, a set of behaviors consistent with advanced hypervigilance, the checking, the scanning, the inability to occupy space without cataloging the people in it and the threat level each one represents. This is what sustained, unrelenting psychological pressure does to a human being. It does not require a single dramatic act. It requires consistency, patience, and the willingness to let fear do the work, slowly, completely, permanently. The prediction, what happens next? Sources who have followed this situation most closely offer a consistent read on where it goes from here. Not a single dramatic violent confrontation, continued, grinding deterioration. A man who walked into that facility already at the bottom of every hierarchy and who is losing, piece by piece, the last threads of stability that held him together. Some sources suggest the question is not whether something significant happens to Watts, but when. Whether the psychological deterioration reaches a breaking point before any physical confrontation, or whether the organizations involved decide that the time has come to move from pressure to action. I genuinely do not know how this ends. No one does. But I will be here, tracking it, as information surfaces, as sources speak, as the picture sharpens, because this community deserves to know, in full, as it develops. Tell me, what do you think happens to Chris Watts by the end of 2026? I'm asking seriously, not for speculation about violence, but about the arc of this situation. Where do you think it goes? Drop it in the comments. I want to sit here in this section for as long as it deserves, because this is the question that I think every honest person watching this video is circling around, and I would rather address it directly than let it sit unspoken beneath everything else. What does justice look like for a crime like this? What does it actually mean? And who gets to decide? The retributive perspective. Let me start where most people's instincts start, with retribution. Chris Watts strangled his pregnant wife. He smothered his daughters, and evidence suggests Bella struggled. He placed his children in oil tanks. He drove home. He made himself a coffee. He went to work. He gave a television interview and looked into a camera and said, "I want them to come back." From a retributive perspective, the argument is not complicated. Suffering proportional to what he caused is not injustice, it is consequence. It is the natural response of a moral universe that, in the absence of anything else, finds its own way to hold the weight. I think most people, if they are being deeply and honestly truthful with themselves, feel something close to dark relief at the idea of Chris Watts knowing what it means to have no protection, to have no safety, to have no one willing to stand beside him, to count his days exactly as that note told him to. I am not telling you that feeling is wrong. I am naming it because it is real and it is human, and this channel does not pretend otherwise. But there is another way to look at this, and it demands equal time. A civilized society cannot have a justice system that applies only to the people we find sympathetic, The entire foundation of equal protection under the law, the reason courts exist, the reason formal sentencing exists, the reason we removed punishment from the hands of individuals and placed it in the hands of the state, is precisely because mob justice is not justice, it is power, and power unchecked harms everyone eventually. When prison organizations administer their own version of punishment, even against someone as thoroughly despised as Chris Watts, it is still vigilante action, and a system that tolerates vigilante action for those we hate cannot reliably protect anyone else, because the same tolerance extended becomes available for people who don't deserve it, for people who are wrongly convicted, for people who are targeted not because of what they did, but because of who they are. I don't have a clean answer. I never pretend to. But I think the most honest thing I can say is this. The law gave Chris Watts 5 life sentences with no parole. That is a consequence, a real, significant, permanent consequence. What is happening to him inside that facility, the psychological deterioration, the fear, the alleged assault, is a separate layer. And whether that layer is justice or something else is a question I want this community to sit with.
What do you believe? Drop yes, no, or complicated in the comments. Is what is happening to Chris Watts justice, or is it something that sits outside that word entirely? I want to hear every perspective in this community, all of them. Before we move toward the close, I want to bring this somewhere that I think matters beyond the specific story of Chris Watts, because every case I cover has a lesson in it. Not a comfortable one, not a simple one, but a real one. And I'd be doing this community a disservice if I didn't give it the time it deserves. The warning sign most people miss, the performance of normalcy. The single most consistent feature of family annihilators, documented across every major study of this crime type, is the performance of normalcy. The ability to present a completely functional, loving, engaged exterior while something underneath is moving towards something catastrophic. We've been trained, culturally, to look for signs of danger that are obvious: anger, volatility, visible instability. We look for the person who is clearly falling apart. We do not look for the person who is completely composed, who is pleasant, who goes to parent-teacher nights and posts family photos and smiles in all the right moments. We do not look there because we don't expect danger to live there. But it does. It lives there more often than we are comfortable acknowledging. The second warning sign, and the one I want to speak about at length, is emotional unavailability that presents as stability. Partners of family annihilators often describe, in retrospect, a quality in their relationship that they had normalized over years. A partner who is present but not quite reachable, who was calm but in a way that sometimes felt like absence rather than peace, who engaged with the family's emotional life, but always from a slight distance, as though processing it rather than feeling it. Shanann spoke publicly about her marriage in the months before she was killed. She was honest about the difficulties. She was trying. She had booked a couples retreat. She had spoken with friends about her concerns. She was a woman who was paying attention, who could feel that something was wrong, and who was trying to address it directly, the way you're supposed to address it. And she was right. Something was wrong. She felt it. She just could not have known what it was. Financial pressure as a trigger. I mentioned the financial situation earlier in this video, and I want to return to it here, because financial pressure is a documented risk factor in cases of family annihilation, and one that gets consistently underweighted in public discussion.
It is not the cause. Millions of families experience financial hardship and never harm each other. But in a person who already has the underlying psychological profile, the narcissism, the emotional detachment, the inability to process difficulty without externalizing it, financial pressure becomes a match near a fuel source. It creates urgency. It creates the sense that the current life structure is unsustainable, that something has to change. And for a man who sees his family primarily as a structure rather than as people he loves, change can take a catastrophically different meaning than it does for everyone else. What to do with this section? I don't want to leave this section without giving you something practical, something you can actually carry with you. If there is a person in your life, or in the life of someone you love, who matches this pattern, who is consistently emotionally unreachable beneath a pleasant surface, who speaks about their family in terms of function and role rather than love and connection, who responds to difficulty primarily with self-focus rather than outward concern, who makes you feel, quietly, persistently, without any single dramatic incident, that something is not quite right. Trust that feeling, not the reassurance that says you're overreacting, the feeling. Because in every case like this, every single one, there were people who had that feeling and who talked themselves out of it and who wish every day that they had listened. I want to give this section to Shanann alone. Not to the crime, not to the sentence, not to the organizations inside that prison, to her, only to her. Shanann Honorati was born on January 10, 1984, in Aberdeen, North Carolina. She grew up in a close, warm family. She was, by every account from the people who knew her, the kind of person that made the room brighter. Not in a performative way, in a genuine way, the kind of warmth that does not require an audience. She was diagnosed with lupus at a young age. The illness shaped her in ways that became central to who she was. She became someone who understood that health is not guaranteed, that energy is not unlimited, that the time you have, you choose how to spend it. And she chose to spend it on her family, on her daughters, on building something she was proud of. She was a promoter for a nutrition company, a job that required her to be visible, to communicate, to build relationships, and she was good at it, not just because she was personable, but because she believed in what she was sharing. She had seen what managing her own health required. She wanted other people to have access to that. She was genuinely trying to help. Her social media presence, which became the center of the documentary, was not performance, or at least it was not primarily performance. It was a woman who loved her life, documenting it, a woman who was proud of her daughters and wanted the people who loved her to see them growing up. A woman who was honest publicly about the hard parts, the illness, the financial struggle, the difficulty in her marriage, because she believed in authenticity, because she thought honesty was better than pretending. She deserved to grow old. She deserved to see Bella start school. She deserved to watch Celeste become whoever she was going to become. She deserved to hold Nico. She deserved a husband who loved her. She deserved the life she had built and was trying to protect with everything she had. She was 34 years old. She deserved so much more than she got. Type "say her name" right now in the comments. And if you are a mother watching this, if you have daughters the age Bella and Celeste were, I want you to drop a heart, because I want this community to feel what this family represented, not what was done to them, who they were. I want to come back one final time to the only reason this video exists. Everything I told you today, the organizations, the threats, the letters, the alleged assault, the remorse, the silence, the deterioration, all of it, none of it changes what happened on August 13th, 2018. None of it brings anyone home. Shanann Watts, 34 years old, 15 weeks pregnant, a woman who poured herself into her family and fought for her life and documented her love and deserved every second of the future she was building, taken by the man she trusted most. We say her name. Slowly, with intention.
Well, look at you.
Oh, okay.
Hey, well, look at you. Can you see me?
Yeah, I can see you.
Okay. You look good.
Oh, thanks. You do too. I like your jacket.
You like that jacket?
Yeah.
I thought you might recognize that thing. This
Yeah, it
is
looks
good
good.
weather. This is good weather to be wearing it up here for sure.
Oh yeah, I know it's gotta be pretty cold out there.
Yeah, it is. It ain't too bad right now. It's just a little breezy, and probably high 40s, whatever. Anyway, we're just here to tell you how much we love you, and we'll always be here for you, no matter what, son.
Oh, thank you.
And just remember that.
I love you guys too.
That don't out my mind. And I'll let you know I got baptized yesterday.
They told me you were doing that. That's awesome.
And I did get baptized.
Thank you for doing that. That's awesome.
And the water was warm. It was a good thing. That's what your mother said. I had a little chest cold the day before that. Your mother said, you sure be doing this? I'm doing that. I said, no matter what.
Yeah.
Doing it no matter what. And,
I don't remember how cold if it was cold or warm water when I got baptized, but it was a long time ago.
Yeah, it was wet though.
Yeah.
I was the only one to get baptized at a new church that Jamie and them go to. The kids like going there because they got a bunch of kid activities and stuff. And I was the only one to get baptized. Them place was full too.
Oh wow.
They got some good pictures of it. We'll show it to you.
That's awesome.
You look good.
Oh, thank you. You do too.
Yeah. You got a little shave down there.
Oh yeah, I had him just shave it all off just to get it all off so I could actually keep up with it a razor now.
That's good. Heard you got a little sports person to talk to.
Oh yeah, everybody here loves sports. It's pretty cool.
And like Amy likes sports too, don't she?
Oh yeah, everybody does. It's awesome.
Yeah. And the Panthers are doing good, and so is the Steelers, so that's a good thing.
And they play each other on Thursday.
Yeah, I know. That's gonna be a good one. And which one are you pulling for?
I don't really even know, honestly. I think it's gonna be a toss-up. Just to see it will be fun.
Yeah, it would. Hopefully, get to see part of it anyway. And the Panthers have been going off here lately. That's for sure.
Oh yeah, with McCaffrey, he's been doing really good.
Yeah, he has. And I heard you helping somebody out with their fantasy football league.
I tried to if she ever doesn't set it. Oh, she'll listen to me. It's just a matter if she sets her team before she talks to me.
Oh, okay. Then it ain't do much good if she don't do it before that.
Yeah, I know, right?
I like that smile. I love to see you smiling more.
Yeah, it doesn't happen. It doesn't happen very much, but it's good to do it.
Just remember, we always love you, always will. And there's no doubt in my mind about that.
Love you too.
We'll always be here for you, no matter what.
Thank you.
And we'll be here as much as we can.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah. Well, I love seeing you.
Love to see you too.
I like the glasses. Let me put my glasses on so I can see you better.
Yeah.
See,
I put my glasses on so I can see.
Oh, there. Yeah, I can see you better now. There you go.
Yeah.
I just got my little haircut too, don't I?
Nice.
Ready now. Huh? But move over a little bit to your right.
To my right?
Yeah.
Or right might be this way here.
Other way. Other way. Other way. There you go. Now we can see you good.
Okay.
Yeah, now we can see you good. Now we can see you good.
It's like FaceTime or something.
Yeah, it is. That it is. Oh, you look good, son.
How was your flight?
It was kind of interesting. We supposed to left Jamie's house at 7 o'clock, which that didn't quite happen because Dalton and Dylan didn't feel good, so Jamie had to cuddle her for a little bit. We got a few minutes late start, and then we got about 15, 20 miles from the airport. They said the next 12 miles will take you 24 minutes. So we got to the airport just in time. We was the last 3 people to get on the plane.
Oh, wow. Oh, my goodness.
So it was one of them things, last minute thing. I said, oh, Lord, we're going to miss the flight. We're going to miss the flight. I said, calm down. I will get you there. Don't worry. I will get you there. Lord have mercy. Lord, it's good to see you.
It's good to see any snow?
No, I ain't seen no snow because we ain't been over there towards the mountains yet. I can see a little bit coming in. There's some snow up there on the mountains.
Oh, okay.
Nothing yet.
You might see some before you guys leave on Wednesday. I think they might have a little bit, but we'll see.
Yeah, they might have a little stuff coming around. You never know. You look good, boy.
Well, thank you. It's tough, but
I know. It's just good to see you.
yeah, it's good to see you guys too.
And hear your voice is the main thing.
Yeah.
That's a good thing. Lord have mercy. Just take a deep breath. Everything's gonna be all right.
I know. I keep hope.
Yeah, that's all you can do. That's all you can do. Just keep on going. I guess I need a little bit up in the camera. I'm looking down. Ain't I?
No, I can see you. It's cool. I just want to make sure my face is still in there.
No, yeah, it is. It is. I like this jacket. It's nice and warm.
Yeah.
Your mother said, I said, nope, that was mine.
Yeah.
And what Dalton said the other day, I said, Papa, you ain't a Steelers fan, are you? I said, this Uncle Chris is. I said, no, I can still pull the Steelers and Panthers both.
Yeah, you just gotta wait every 4 years when they play each other.
Yeah, exactly. At least they play each other Thursday night, so we'll see what happens.
Yeah, it'll be a fun game, that's for sure.
Yeah, they're playing in Pittsburgh too, ain't they? I think.
Yeah, they are.
I think it's at Pittsburgh. Yeah, and watch it be snowing up there or something.
It won't matter because I mean the home team usually has the advantage on Thursday night, but I think it'll be good.
Yeah, it is. All right, you still got enough money on your card for your commissary?
Oh yeah, I'm good.
You still good on that? Okay.
Yeah.
Whenever you need some more, just let me know. We'll put some more on there.
Okay. Well, thank you.
No, you're welcome. You're welcome.
Yeah, I got pretty weak here for a little while because I just wasn't eating a bunch, and I got down like 173 pounds. It was crazy. I was just like, man, I gotta eat something.
Yeah, 173 pounds. You ain't seen that since high school.
That was before that, but yeah, I gained some more weight back on with all that commissary, so that was good. Well, thank you.
That's a good thing.
Yeah.
A little bit different food, a little bit stuff to pick from.
Oh yeah, yeah, definitely. I get some stuff with some protein in it, and it helped out a lot.
Okay, some peanut butter.
Yeah, that was the main thing.
That's a good thing. That's a good thing. Oh, no mercy. Lordy, lordy, lordy. I love you so much, boy.
Love you too.
Trying to think what all I can talk about. Anyway, we had Jamie's 40th birthday party. That was good.
You just had a cookout out of the house?
Yeah. What I actually knew, Robert and them, they went to a barbecue place. Got some barbecue and some fried chicken and potato salad and baked beans, all that good stuff. And then we hang around out there and played music, kids playing and stuff, and started drinking too much, but other than that, everything went good.
Nice.
Everybody had a good time. And Jamie's a big 4-0, so he had a good time.
That's good.
Yeah, that's good.
Did you watch the Martinsville race?
Yeah. little bump and run, and Truex was so mad. I mean, he did more or less 4 or 5 laps before that, basically the same thing.
Yeah.
But he didn't tag him in the quarter panel. He tagged him right down at the bumper. I mean, he hit him like he sped him out or nothing. He just moved him a little bit, and he had a chance to come back beside him. He was slamming into each other side to side, going across start finish line. Hell, Denny Hamlin almost won it.
Yeah. Yeah, I got to watch the Talladega race. The rest of the races have been on that NBCSN, so I don't have that one, but I heard about it, and it seemed like Truex is pretty mad.
Yeah, he said he might have won the battle, but he ain't gonna win the war. In other words, he would take him out at Homestead, so he couldn't win the championship. So Logano's in, and Truex won yesterday. Not Truex, Harvick.
Yep.
Harvick won yesterday. I didn't even get to see none of that race. I was watching a football game at Robert's house yesterday. We watched the Panther game first, and then we had watched the forgot who the other one was, and I fell asleep during the New England and the Packer game.
It was a good game until the end when it just kind of like
17-17 to part of the fourth quarter, and they fumbled the ball, and then he scored on that one and scored again.
Never looked back after that.
Nope. But Rogers ain't a spring chicken anymore neither.
No.
Neither's Brady though. Brady's what, 40?
He's like 41. Yeah.
You still keep up with your sports, don't you?
It distracts me.
Yeah. You got a newspaper in there where you can read it sometimes?
Oh, yeah.
Keep up with it?
I got a newspaper. That's how I kind of keep up with everything.
Yeah. What did you think about the World Series?
It was kind of what I expected.
Mm-hmm. I thought it'd go more games than it did, but it didn't.
Yeah, the Red Sox were good. I didn't.
Yeah, they were.
I was hoping it would go maybe 6 games, but the Dodgers, after that 18-inning marathon, it was like they had nothing left.
Oh yeah, that was unreal. I wasn't about to stay up and watch that one.
No, I don't think anybody could.
No. Okay. Oh, no mercy. Oh, you look good. You'll see. Where's that gray hair at? Yep, still got a little bit going on
it's
over
still
there.
in there. Trust me, it's not going nowhere. I can only way I can get rid of the gray hair is if I shave off all my hair.
Well, I ain't do that yet. Don't do that yet. I'm good. Okay. All right. I just check one powers to be, make sure I'm doing good.
Yeah.
Okay. You look nice and clean and healthy.
Yeah, I've been trying to stay clean and healthy.
Yeah. As Amy said, you like the stuff you get from the commissary for your hygiene and stuff, about keeping trimmed up and everything.
Yeah, it definitely helps out getting actual like actual body soap and shampoo and stuff like that. It helps out a lot.
And
Actually,
instead of
lotion and stuff.
Yeah, instead of bar soap.
Well,
Whatever they give y'all.
It was like a little pump soap from it was like hand sanitizer, like pump soap like that, and it dries you out. So I was just glad to get some actual soap and toothpaste.
Yeah, well, this weather down here will dry you out in a heartbeat anyway.
Oh yeah, definitely. That's one thing about it. No matter if you're inside all the time or what, it's still going to dry you out like crazy.
We gotta go find Jamie a jacket. She ran off this morning and forgot her jacket, and didn't realize how cold it was gonna be down here.
Yeah, if the sun's not out, it's gonna be freezing out there.
Yeah, and the sun go down, it cools off quick. That's for sure.
For sure.
Yeah. Son, believe me, you got a lot of support, a lot of people praying for you and loving on you out here.
That's good to hear.
Mm-hmm. There's a lot of people praying for you and loving you. Got a thing here on my wrist. If I dropped the phone here. Hang on a second. I'll try to read this to you. That Roberts gave it to me the other day. Let's see here. It says, I said a prayer for you today, and I know God must have heard. I felt that answer in my heart, although he spoke no word.
That's beautiful.
Yep, that's a good one. That's a good one for you to remember right there.
Yep.
And I wear it every day for you.
Thank you.
Anything you need, just let us know. Okay?
Okay.
We'll always be here for you no matter what. And we always love you no matter what.
That means a lot.
Mm-hmm. So good to see you.
It's good to see you too.
Okay. So this thing's still almost 17 more minutes. Okay, alrighty. You got more time to talk. What you want to talk about?
Whatever you want to talk about, honestly.
It started earlier. I talked to her and starting it early, so I don't want to waste any of my time here, that's for sure. Oh, Lord. They gave us a Volkswagen Beetle at the rental car place when we got there.
Really?
And I said, okay. Trying to figure out, I said, oh, where is the trunk in the front or the back? I said, way back when the motor's in the back, but I know they don't do that anymore.
Yeah.
So I asked the guy, I said, well, how do you open the trunk? So we kept hitting the button. Heard click, click, click. I said, well, that's clicking, but how do you open it? There's no latches on it. The guy said, damn, I don't know. So I said, hang on a minute. I opened the glove compartment. Got an owner's manual out. You got to hit the emblem in the middle. It flips. Then you open the trunk.
Oh, wow.
So that's a new one on me. I would never figured that one out unless the owner's manual got that damn rental place didn't even know how to open the trunk.
I know, right?
Crazy.
I remember last time I drove one of those.
Mm-hmm. It was crazy. That little Subaru we got's doing good. The little Impreza.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah, your mother loves driving that thing. Actually, that's why I drove to the airport.
That's good. That's awesome.
The truck
you're not missing the Mustang anymore?
No, she's not missing the Muskrat anymore.
Okay.
Of course, that's Impreza get like 31 miles a gallon.
Yeah, she definitely doesn't miss that anymore.
No. And the truck had to put some ball joints in it. I used to put sway bar links on it, front and rear. On front, couple weeks later, started making a noise again, so I put rear sway bar links on it. And then about a month later, it started squeak. I put lower ball joints in it.
Jeez.
I said, Lord, I should take care about all that. I should have nothing else put on there.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah, those are usually it's the control arms that go first on those.
Yeah, that's what they said. They said, no, they ain't control arms or tire rod is. The lower ball joints finally it's got 140-something thousand miles on it, so I guess it's about time for it to wear out.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah. Yeah, but she's still running right along like a good old Ford's supposed to.
I know, right?
Yeah, for sure. I wish we still had Fords, but up there at the dealership, we got Subarus, but they're selling quite a few of them now. They're selling over about 60 a month now, so that's pretty good for Subarus in Fayetteville.
That's really good.
Yeah.
You probably sell double that here.
Oh yeah, Lord, they probably sell five times that much here.
Oh yeah, definitely.
We've got probably at least 4 dealerships around here, I believe. Subarus, I know.
Oh yeah, they're all over the place here because of the all-wheel drive.
Just like the hotel we're staying at down there, I've seen 4 of them parked there.
Yeah.
I said, Lord have mercy, they're everywhere.
Well, they got I think 4 feet of snow in some parts of the mountains this week, so like all the roads have been just treacherous and whatnot, and they've been stopping people, make sure they got chains and winter tires and all that kinds of stuff. So it's
they won't even let you up there without there, will they?
No, they literally they stop you and they got the flashlights checking your tires and whatnot.
Lord have mercy. So you got to have chains or what? You get cleated snow tires or just regular snow tires?
Snow tires are some of the ones with I don't
spikes
know.
in them.
Yeah, kind of those little pellets and stuff in them. But yeah, it's too dangerous to drive up there without it. So.
Oh yeah, that's probably up in Colorado Springs or is that anywhere?
Oh no, that's just if you go west of Denver on I-70, anywhere over there.
Okay. Yeah, he was on the way here, and on the interstate was coming up. There's 76 or whatever it was. I think the speed limit one place was like 75 degrees. That's 75 degrees, 75 miles per hour speed limit, and then it changed down to 65, and I was running about right at 75. This little white Chevrolet come flying past me. I know at least running about 90 or 95. I said, dude, you ain't like any state boy out here. And by that time, here come one opposite direction. He's a Yui right in front of me.
Oh, wow.
Volkswagen battle, and it took him a while to catch him, too. That dude was gone. Yeah, I heard that, had that Dodge Charger gag. Boy. Heard him probably go, oh, Lord. It's good to see you smile, boy.
It doesn't happen much.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Just remember the times you can't smile. That's a good thing.
Yeah.
I remember this day for a long time.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah. Okay. It's been a long time, boy. Just remember always we love you, buddy. No
I know.
What.
I love you guys too.
And you're still our son. And you got a lot of love, a lot of support out here.
Thank you.
I know.
It's hard to really know if there is any out there, so.
I know. There is. Believe me. Believe me, there is. You got a whole big old family, an extended family, and friends, everybody. Everybody love you. You got a lot of support out here. And don't ever forget that.
All right, definitely. It's hard to even know there is out there, but it's good to hear it.
It is. And don't ever forget that. You got people out here love you. A whole bunch of them. Keep it. I know it's hard.
Yeah.
And everything's gonna be good though. Everything's gonna be good.
Okay.
Just remember that.
I will.
Let's see, what else we got to talk about here? We talk about football and racing, cars. Let's see.
Well, I think the basketball season is about to start this week, isn't it?
Yep. Carolina plays Tuesday night at 6 or 7 o'clock ESPN2.
Is it like an exhibition game or?
No, it's against Walford or something like that.
Oh, okay.
Nobody yet. But the hell, Duke plays Kentucky the same night.
Jeez.
Number 2 and number 4 playing from the get-go.
That's
that's kind of unusual.
It sucks to be them playing Kentucky that rest.
Yep. Well, they got a bunch of them one and dones again, so they always play for themselves. They don't play for the team.
No, that's for sure.
Yeah. I'm trying to remember who I was on the Carolina team. I remember from last year. I
don't even I'm trying to remember, but
and, I can't remember who left and who stayed, and I don't figure out who else was in there.
Isn't Jalik Felton? Isn't he playing? I think he's a new guy though.
Yeah, I'm trying to remember who they recruited and everything. Yeah, they had. I
think there's a guy named P.J. Harrington, but I'm not sure.
Yeah. They had some top recruits coming in this year.
They did. I
can't remember who they are though.
Yeah, me neither.
But I get a taste of them. Well, I got to set record. I'll watch it when I get home.
Yeah, they should beat them. I hope so.
Yeah, and they better beat them.
They always have that one letdown in the
first they always have that letdown the first few weeks of the season when they play a nobody and nobody says, here we are.
Yeah, their football team's absolutely horrible, but
yeah. They've been in quite a few of the ball games, but they can't finish. I don't know what's wrong with them. They get up there and actually I had who was it they played not this past weekend before last. They was they hung right with them till the very end of it. Let them come back and beat them again.
I know, right?
They can't figure out who they want to have be as a quarterback for some reason. They keep
No.
switching off between that the two boys, Elliott and the other one. I can't think of his name. But
Yeah, I think like maybe if as long as Alabama doesn't win it again this year, I'll be fine.
yeah, Alabama put a butt kicking on LSU the other night. God,
That wasn't even fair.
and that was embarrassing. And that was LSU's what, number 4 in the nation?
Yeah, they were number 3 actually, I think.
No, 1 and 3.
Yeah, it was. They just I don't know. It's like playing a professional football team when you play Alabama's defense.
Yeah, exactly. I think about 90% of them is already in the NFL draft before they even come in there.
Pretty much. They said
Yeah.
they've like they put 22 players in the NFL draft the last 2 years.
Lord have mercy.
That's an entire football team.
Oh yeah, I need to tell you about this guy who was sitting beside me on the plane on the way here. Actually, when we got there, we was the last 3 people to get on the plane, right? So the guy said there's only middle seats left because you got to check in like 24 hours in advance on Southwest. I didn't know that. It's the first time we flew on Southwest.
Okay.
So we were the last people to get our seats. So there's Jamie in the very rear, your mother about in the middle, and I come all the way back up to the front, get one in the middle. There's about 5 rows from the front. I said, oh, this is good. I looked down the side of this dude. I said, like a linebacker for NFL. He says, let me get up out of the seat. He can wall up out there. And I started putting down that little armrest thing in the middle. He said, well, my shoulders only go in so far. I said, okay. Well, and before we even got with his taxiing to go out, he then started snoring. I mean, he was blowing bubbles almost, doing this stuff. Big old black hole. Oh, Lord have mercy. And he was snoring, and he had his phone up there with his headphones on, watching TV programs or whatever and stuff. And then all of a sudden, he had a big old plate of food down there. I don't know where he bought it from. I guess somewhere in the airport. Opened that up, started eating it, and all I could smell was hot sauce. Dude, my nose started running, so some of that stuff. He ate that and fell right back asleep again. And he still had his TV shows going, and then Street Outlaws came on. So I sat and watched the Street Outlaws while he was sleeping on his phone.
At least you had to watch that on the plane, boy.
Yeah,
that guy.
Cause, I couldn't. I was trying to take my little nap. I couldn't fall asleep when he was snoring so loud. Because I know I snore too. So I said, if both of us get going, probably kick both of us off the plane. Lord. Okay. Hang on a sec. You see him smile? You see him smile? Okay. I was asking Sylvia something. So you see that boy smiling? Lord, it's good to see you all.
So
we miss you. We love you.
Before you guys leave, you have to have some green chili or something before you leave, because you got to have at least eat something in Colorado before you leave.
Yeah. What is it called?
Green chili.
Green chili?
Oh yeah, you got to have that before you leave Colorado on Wednesday.
Where's that? Where do you find that at?
Oh, you pretty much go anywhere.
Green chili.
Yeah, just go to a Mexican restaurant, or you can go anywhere has it, but
green chili.
I don't know, I don't know where you're staying in Greeley or whatnot, but
yeah,
I'm not sure what's around there.
Mhm.
But you can look it up on your there'll be some good places around, but you got to have that at least.
Yeah, I thought it was in the Mexican place on the way over here a while ago. Down there, I bet you they got some.
Yeah, they put all the restaurants in North Carolina to shame. That's for sure.
All right. Sylvia told me she knows a couple good places.
Oh, nice. Cool.
Okay. She'll hook us up with it. Green chili. Maybe try that tomorrow night now.
Oh yeah, I've had it on I had it next to the Rocky Stadium one time. It was like cheese fries with bacon and stuff, but they put green chili on top of it. It was just it was amazing.
That sounds good.
It's good stuff.
Green chili.
But you can have it on quesadillas or nachos or anything really, but it's good.
I better eat that the day before I get back on the plane, just in case.
Yeah. Don't eat it that morning, but yeah.
No. Oh, Lord. Okay. All right. Let me get the next one that's supposed to be coming over here, which will be your mama here in just a minute.
Okay.
Get her over here. And she does love you too, boy. Believe me.
That's good to hear. Trust me.
And yes, and we will be there tomorrow.
Okay.
Okay, we'll be there for you tomorrow.
All right, thank
you. Yes, we still got bipolar trouble. We had a hard time finding somebody to watch them a little bit, but anyway.
Nobody wants to watch that dog.
No. Well, we had a cat that Jamie and them talked Cindy into bringing it home. We had to bring it over to somebody else's house to watch because it was last minute notice. And then finally, Monica said she would watch a little bit.
Oh
And
man.
said little bit's gonna be a change of person. And Cindy said, "What's going on?" She said, "They're feeding a little bit with a fork."
Oh
I
my
said, "Do
goodness.
what?" You don't need to spoil that dog the more he already is. He's crazy.
That's crazy.
Every time I go back there in the bedroom, like he does, every time I walk back there,
Right.
if it's just me and him by ourselves, he'd get around the couch, snuggle up to me, watch TV and stuff. But if she's there, forget it.
Yeah.
She ain't
That
gonna
dog
do nothing
hated
like that.
me.
No, and he hates every damn body.
Yeah, he hates everybody besides mom.
Yeah. If Mama's there, he ain't got nothing to do with nobody.
Yeah, exactly.
That's for sure. Oh, Lord. Memorial service we did the other day. We've had a little Dieter statue out there too. With
What's
him,
that?
just like Dieter. Had
Oh,
a memorial
Dieter.
service.
Oh, okay.
A Dieter statue out there too.
Okay.
Look just like Dieter.
That's
It
awesome.
was cute. And then we had a lovely service the other day.
That's great.
A woman from that Jamie knows from the works with her and goes to church and stuff too. She sang Amazing Grace and another song and stuff. So it went real good.
That's good. I was hoping it didn't rain on you guys the entire time you were there.
No, it didn't rain. It was just, I forgot my coat that day. And it wasn't that cold when I left the house and got out there. It was wind blowing. It got cold. And it was, ain't too cold. I said, yeah, I'll be all right.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Let's see here. Get down. Let me see if I can get one of them back over here. You want to see if you get Cindy come back over this way? You got about 3 minutes left. Okay. She said,